I recently received a request to make a video about heart-centered living. So that's what we're going to explore in this video. Hello, this is Finding Your Light Within, the channel where we explore the topics of living your truest life. What is heart-centered living? I suppose for me, it means living from the gut instinct. I talked about it in a previous video about the life force inside. It's that place deep within yourself. It's not living from the head, the place of logic. It's living authentically, living truth, your truth. Sometimes I think of a time in my life when this was very true. So I think heart-centered living is a time of empathy and compassion and love. Those would be the emotions from the heart. In my time in my youth as a teenager, I was cycling with my friends at the time. That's a very charitable word for the group of people I was deciding to hang out with back then. We were cycling into our local town one Saturday morning, I believe. It was about 10:30 in the morning. And as we came upon a busy junction, there were some trees on the left-hand side of the road, on the same side that we were cycling. This is back in England. And out from those trees, a squirrel ran. And unfortunately, a car hit it just ahead of us. The squirrel wasn't killed outright, but it was left writhing in clear pain on the road. Now, my immediate reaction, without thinking, was to jump off my bike and do whatever I could to help that squirrel. I could see it wasn't going to make it. It was in a pretty terrible way. And I didn't have it within me to put it out of its misery. So I thought the kindest thing I could do would be to move it to the side of the road and lift it up back onto the grass verge, away from the traffic, so that it could maybe pass away with some dignity. So having done so, and feeling good within myself for the kindness I'd shown towards another living creature, I was rather taken aback and horrified by the mickey taking and fun making that my friends showed me. But what that incident demonstrated to me is heart-centered living. It's not easily explained by logic. My logical brain would have said, don't do it, because you know the result will be you'll suffer humiliation at the hands of your friends. And that tells you everything about those people being friends. They clearly were not, as I came to realise shortly after this. But at the time, I acted out of instinct. And I acted from a gut instinct, from a place within. And it's an incident that has stuck with me. It was a very small incident in and of itself that lasted maybe no more than 20 seconds, 30 seconds at the very, very most. But it's given me a lasting impression in my life that I still can recall it and picture it in my mind. And that for me is heart-centered living. It's living truthfully without thinking of the consequences that may occur. Now, I think that you have to, obviously you have to apply some logic to certain situations, and you have to utilize your brain because you want to keep yourself safe minimize risks in your life. But there are situations in which we act, well, we just act, I suppose. It might be asking somebody out on a date. It might be walking across the dance floor to ask somebody for a dance. There's something about those moments that you do on instinct. You know that if you stop and think about them for too long, you'll talk yourself out of it. I've done that on many occasions. When I should have got up and just walked over, I sat and thought about it and never did anything about it. Much to my own loss, of course. But that's life, right? That's how we learn. You've got to, sometimes you just have to move ahead. That's heart-centered living. And I think also this is a concept that extends further than that. It's a concept that it's about the way that you see life. That you see life not just in terms of career or money or material possessions, but it's about seeing life in terms of real living, fundamental living, the basic living, the real living, those things that really matter, friendships and love, caring, empathy, compassion, sympathy, nurture, helping people. These are all heart-centered ways of living. In my own life, I had a good career going. I was in my mid-30s. Life was great. I had a good social life. I was living overseas, in Budapest, in Hungary at the time. Life was fantastic. I had everything that I'd always wanted. Or at least everything that I thought I wanted. Everything that I should want up here. But I recognised I was never truly happy. And it wasn't a sudden light switching on moment. It was something that built up over time. And how did that happen? Well, it happened because I connected myself with a wider worldview, if you like, with nature. I was always very drawn to nature. On airplanes, traveling across Europe, on business trips, I would just stare out of the window in wonder and delight. It's like being a child, seeing the world with fresh eyes, with naivety. And I think naivety is actually the wrong word, because it's not naivety. It's just wonderment, to recognize what is around us. That's heart-centered living. It would have been easy to sit in the plane and immerse myself in emails or work that I could have done on my laptop at the time, to reading a newspaper, whatever it might have been. But I couldn't stop myself from looking at the cloud formations, the mountains when I was fortunate enough to fly over the Alps, the valleys, the rivers, the fields, the woodlands, the forests, whatever it was. I was always drawn to it out of that window. I felt a connection to it. And that connection didn't exist in my head. It existed within me, deep within me, in my heart, in my gut. I think those two things are one and the same. It was the pull of that just made me think there's something else. There's something else I have to do, that this life that I'm leading or living isn't my true life. And heart-centered living is having the courage to follow that through, to recognize that it doesn't matter what you possess in life. It's meaningless because you can't take it with you. But what you can have is a head full of memory and experience that comes of seeing the world through your heart, from deep within, from a place of love and gratitude, and a place of innocence too, I think. Because when we're children, when we're young, everything is brand new. And at some point, we start to take it all for granted. We've seen it before. But that doesn't stop the world from being a wonderful place. To see in the autumn, in the fall, the leaves changing colours and falling from the trees, to lay scattered across the ground. It's a beautiful sight. The sun shining in the sky, as it is now on this evening here in New Zealand. Blue sky, some clouds, the green trees blowing in the wind. These are all beautiful things, the sound of a bird. And I think it's in nature that we find that connectivity to our deeper self. It's that recognition. I spoke about it in my previous video about we too are life. We are nature. And it's true. And I think that in nature, that's why we are so helped to find our true selves, because that's our place. The walls of your apartment or your flat or your house or wherever you live, they're like a prison cell in a way. They shut us off. They separate us from the real world outside. The glass through which we look of the windows. You can see it. You can see the trees outside, but you can't feel the wind on your face or the warmth of the rays of the sun. To go outside and immerse yourself in nature is to feel those things. And so in nature, you can find your voice within, not the voice of your head that tells you you've got to think about the next email, or the urgent work item to be done, or how can I earn more money, or which car shall I get, or whatever it is, right? In nature, none of those things are important. All that's important is living, is water and food and air to breathe, and staying safe from the elements of the weather. That's all that truly matters. And so you don't have to be a monk. You don't have to take a vow of silence to find your inner voice and to think from a heart-centered place. But you do need to be quiet. You do need to be still. And I think in nature, though, it presents us with those moments, those opportunities to sit still and let our senses become immersed with the sights and the sounds and the feel of the breeze or the wind on your skin, the scent of the flowers or the trees or the grass, or whatever it may be. And when we allow ourselves to be still, that's when we can connect to our true self. It's in those moments, it's in that stillness, when you're not busy. You can't be busy. I guess that's the key thing. You must be quiet. So that's the trick, I think, to finding that voice within. I've talked about journaling before, and I think that's another way to make that connection to your inner voice, to help you uncover your truth. And you can check out my previous video. I'll put a link down below for you in the description of why journaling matters. But all these things are connected. It's all about finding and allowing yourself the time and the peace. Because when you're journaling, that's a peaceful time. It's a quiet reflection. And when you're sitting out in nature, or you're, like I often do, or I mostly do these days, I suppose, I sit down at the beach and just allow myself to immerse myself in that environment. And I know absolutely that scuba diving did that for me in a very profound way, because then I was absolutely immersed into another world. Everything changed. And that gave me a very deep connection to life, to see myself as part of the fibre of and the fabric of life, that everything is truly connected, and it's just one huge symbiotic organism surrounding our planet. Everything is interlinked. And that's not, I mean, I think that's just biology. I don't think that's anything too, out there. But it's true. It is true. Be calm, be still. Allow yourself to be authentic. That's the key. Authenticity. Being true to yourself, regardless of what other people think, regardless of the impression you'll give them, good or bad, positive or negative. As long as you are being honest and you're being kind, you're being careful, you're being compassionate, you're being empathetic, you can't go wrong. Let others think what they will. That's fundamentally the key to life, to fulfillment. That's key to listening to your voice within, your heart center, your gut instinct, your life force. So, key messages from this video. Find stillness, find calmness. If you can, go to nature. The beach, the woodlands, the forests, the river, even sitting in your garden, taking a walk, just being outside. Don't put in earbuds, headphones. You need to listen to the world, to the natural world. You need to let it fill your senses. Be quiet. And in time, that stillness will allow your inner voice to emerge, to grow. And the more that you do it, the more that you practice, the more you will connect to your inner truth and reveal your true purpose in life. And if you can do that, then you have an opportunity to make your life the one that you want it to be. Thank you very much for listening and watching. Please do subscribe to my channel. Please hit the like button. Help me to grow. My aim is to help others, to spread the message as far and wide as I can, to link up with other people who think similarly. I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not the only voice out there. And all I can do is what I do. And if you're along on that journey, then I'm very happy to have you with me. Thank you so much. Until the next time, this is Andrew Mark for Finding a Light Within. Goodbye.